We gather this evening or this morning to celebrate the Buffalo Seminary class of 2020. Parents, students, families, friends, faculty, and staff, welcome to Buffalo Seminary's 169th commencement ceremony and our first virtual graduation. To the seniors and their families, this is not the ceremony any of us envisioned or dreamed of when you entered SEM 4 years ago. Although the format is different, the purpose of the celebration is to congratulate the graduates and welcome them to the sisterhood of SEM alumna all over the world. What a wonderful addition to this group the class of 2020 is. As the pattern is every year at SEM, reunion weekend precedes our graduation, and this year was no different. I spent Saturday morning virtually with the 50th reunion class, the class of 1970. As each person joined our conversation, it became more and more clear to me that the class of 2020 and the class of 1970 will become fast friends when you meet at your future reunions. The class of 1970 is a vocal group, yet they listened patiently for over an hour as we went around our Zoom room and each person reintroduced herself and shared the path of her life. One member of the class had not seen a classmate since her graduation day in 1970. Zoom made it all possible. They told us stories of exciting careers, families, and struggles. Tears flowed freely throughout the first hour of our conversation. It reminded me of the nearly 50 13 and 14-year-old ninth grade girls who, much to the chagrin of Ms. Cunningham and Ms. Basili on Hornet Jacket Night, stayed up until the wee hours of the morning, talking, and as I later learned, crying together. You may not have recognized it then, but you were building the trust and friendships that would be the cornerstone of your class. On Saturday morning, the conversation shifted. Someone pulled out their old yearbook, and the laughter began to replace the tears. Their reminiscing about the funny times together reminded me of the laughter that would occasionally erupt from the senior lounge. You all took your new space and made it completely your own. A pink microwave appeared, clever messages on the whiteboard, and countdowns to the major milestones of your senior year. Anna's portraits of faculty graced the walls. After school, when most had left the building, I listened to you outside my office, laughing about what I usually did not know. Occasionally, I interjected to say, "You know I can hear you," so as to avoid any embarrassment. And more often than not, you laughed harder and included me in the conversation. Yet sometimes embarrassment can't be avoided. I rarely give advice at graduation, but this evening I must say, please check the subject line of any email you send to a professor next year. Ask Sam. Her email made me laugh, but caused her a bit of embarrassment. Yet she apologized and was able to laugh at herself. This trait runs through your class. You do not take yourselves too seriously, even when you have faced difficult times. One thing I cannot understand is the mystique of Gretna Glen. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but Zoe described a hilarious ball game in a circle, which I cannot figure out. Please let me in on the secret someday. Actually, not. There are some experiences that are shared together and do not need to be shared with others. At Gretna Glen, your class became united. Finally, last Saturday morning, after another 20 minutes of storytelling and laughter, the conversation of the class of 1970 turned thoughtful and serious. Even after 50 years, they were still comfortable with each other and confident enough in themselves to address the complex and distressing events of the spring of 2020. They were respectful of one another and not afraid to share their opinions. They are a socially aware and active group, much like you. They talked about their community involvement and the importance of volunteering to give greater purpose to their lives, even while pursuing their careers and raising families. The class of 2020 is involved. You've started new clubs, Confidence Club, Black Student Union, Jewish Cultural Club, and many more. The clubs you started express your varied interests. They provide a space for connection and support, and they help other students find their place at SEM. With each year, you developed your own class persona. You have a fairly relaxed and laid back attitude, but that doesn't mean you don't work hard or are less passionate about your ideas than other classes. You are a humble class that gets things done. Thank you, Ariana, for the senior slideshow. Thank you, Emma and the Donovans, for the lawn signs. You saw a need and acted upon it. I am proud of your senior class and implore you to stay involved. We need you more now than ever. The class of 1970 feels connected to you. You are invited to join them at their rescheduled reunion next June. They are curious to meet you. One member of their class said, "SEM taught me to be brave." And I assured them that you are brave. And here we must pause and recognize your teachers. One doesn't become brave without being encouraged and allowed to take risks to be brave. Please join me in thanking your teachers for giving you the space to test your ideas, develop your confidence, and be brave. Thank you, faculty. The spring of 1970 was marked with anti-war protests and violence on college campuses. Colleges were shut down and students sent home. Just as you are now, they wondered about their future and their education. They understand what you are going through because their senior spring is remarkably similar to your senior spring. They asked, "How are the seniors doing?" And I answered in a very 70s way with a quote from The Who, "The kids are all right." You are much more than all right. You are poised and ready for whatever challenges come your way. You have humor and the ability to keep perspective. You have resilience and strength. And most importantly, you have shared a history-making time together. As generations of SEM graduates before you know, during turbulent times, the bonds you have built at SEM will carry you through. Good luck, stay connected, change the world. And please come back and share your adventures with future generations of SEM graduates. Congratulations to the class of 2020. It is now my honor to award the first ever Fatima Francesca Zahara Siddiqui Endowed Award for exemplary contributions to the school community. This year's award winner is an innovator, an activist, a problem solver, and a kind friend. She is absolutely tireless, and helping everyone in the building is her mission. SEM was the first school in the area to go to a one-to-one computer program. Beth Adamczak instituted the program, taught the faculty the technology after teaching much of it to herself, and since then has made herself available to everyone as the program took hold. Yet it is not until we were besieged with one crisis after another this spring that Beth's value to the school was illuminated. Distance learning presented a whole range of challenges for us, but one thing we did not have to worry about was a tech failure. Beth worked all hours of every day to ensure that no student or faculty member lost much time to a computer glitch or because of lack of access. She answered calls 24/7 and patiently taught and retaught the skills needed for us to stay connected through the COVID spring. She is an advocate for and the backbone of our computer science program. She initiated our AI collaboration with Crosswater Media. She maintains our school database, sends letters and emails constantly. She stays awake nights in case we need to call a snow day. And she finds opportunities for our students to participate in computer science competitions where our girls have made their mark. She is the mastermind behind our event tonight. All of this while drawing as little attention to herself as possible. Tonight, we virtually shine a spotlight on Beth Adamczak. In times of crisis and every day, she is SEM's truly essential worker. Thank you, Beth, and congratulations. Beth, are you going to unmute?
Thank you.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Hello, SEM class of 2020. What a long, strange trip this has been, huh? I'm honored that you chose me to speak today, and while this is so much less than ideal, I, for one, am thrilled that I'm not standing in a podium in Westminster Church in what feels like a black plastic garbage bag, speaking in front of hundreds of people. Instead, I'm standing with Mrs. Green in Miss Stothart's room, yet also speaking to a large audience. Go figure. Anyway, I'll try and keep it short but sweet. The mention of Westminster conjures the obvious. This isn't what your graduation was supposed to look like, supposed to feel like. There is little pomp and circumstance compared to Buffalo Seminary's usual ceremony, but maybe, just maybe, it's unneeded. At this moment, this country is at a particularly low point. A pandemic, riots against police brutality, curfews, a divided nation. Yet throughout the long arc of history, these things have all happened before. And it is precisely these moments that people remember because they are when great change happens. You are teetering on the precipice of a new tomorrow. Not alone, but with everyone who cares about you and with great models to look toward for guidance. People will look back on the class of 2020 singularly. You will never blend in with the class before you or after you. The class of 2020 will forever be remembered as the strong, resilient ones, even the triumphant ones. The word triumphant reminds me of a quote I learned many years ago that enabled me to summon strength at low points in my life. This quote from Plutarch's Life of Antony is attributed to one of history's most iconic women, the Egyptian queen Cleopatra VII Philippator. He states, Plutarch, that near the end of her life, Cleopatra made this bold statement: I will not be triumphed over. Taken at face value and viewed through today's modern lens, this courageous, brilliant North African queen meant that her indomitable spirit would not be broken. She would always prevail. And that in itself should invigorate you in dark times. You, like Cleopatra, should not allow yourself to be controlled. Do not allow yourself to be triumphed over. Do not allow racism to triumph over you. Do not allow sexism to triumph over you. Do not allow classism to triumph over you. Because of the world around you, you need to commence into the next phase of your life with fierce spirit, determination, and grace. Use strong women you know or have learned about as models of how to move through the world with strength of character. Cleopatra herself was a trailblazer, arguably the first female sovereign in history to rule without a man for a period of over a decade. Her leadership showed skilled use of public communication and diplomacy, which she used to forestall the fall of Egypt to Rome. Much like SEM women, she was an exceptionally well-educated intellectual. Ancient Arabic texts tell us something Miss Winkowski would like to know, that Cleopatra adored chemistry. Madam Fisher might be interested to know that the queen was a highly regarded linguist. Ms. Pasiak might be interested in Cleopatra's acumen in economics. She also mastered mercantile strategy, military theory, and law. Be this woman. Go into this world wielding the strength of your passions. Then, as Cleopatra did, make strategic, deliberate choices, rather than running willy-nilly into the unknown or reacting defensively. Now, I said that viewed through today's lens, the quote, "I will not be triumphed over," means that Cleopatra would not find herself in a place of submission. However, in ancient Rome, the word triumphus described a public ceremony, one in which the Roman emperor or other important Roman military figure, in an act of pure propaganda, paraded through the streets in full regalia in order to convince the public of his prowess after conquering a territory or enemy. In the context of Cleopatra's life, she made this statement after her and Mark Antony's defeat by Octavian, the eventual emperor of Rome. Before both her and Mark Antony's death, legend has it that she bravely declared, "I will not be triumphed over." So in this case, it was more likely that she was refusing to be paraded through the streets of Rome as a token of conquest. Here our heroine was, facing the unknown. Her reign had ended, her realm captured, and history shows us that she was not long for this world. In that moment, she held herself with strength and grace. Again, be like Cleopatra. Do not allow yourself to be processed through anyone else's parade. Do not allow yourself to be triumphed over. Do not be tokenized. Do not become any man's trophy. Do not allow yourself to be used for someone else's gain. Instead, walk with pride and purpose. Many years ago, I was lucky to see another queen in person, the incomparable Pulitzer Prize-winning American author Toni Morrison. At a lecture in Chicago, she discussed her novel Song of Solomon, which I believe is Mrs. Green's favorite book. I will never forget watching Toni Morrison walk across the stage, head held high, back straight, thick braids cascading down her back, velvet cape flowing in her wake. I had never seen anyone in my life look so regal. Morrison held every ounce of royalty that Cleopatra possibly could have had. On that night, she spoke of the connection between triumph and risk. Without risking something, which is understandably terribly scary, you can't encounter either of the previous definitions of triumph. So go ahead and heed Morrison's advice. Take risks, take flight into the unknown with grace, stumble, pick yourself back up, and be ready to take another risk. Toni Morrison passed recently, but she, Cleopatra, and every other fierce woman throughout history has left a place for you on life's stage. You are their legacy. So go out into the world, adjust your crown in your own way, make proud, your foremothers, parents, teachers, and family. Take risks, And remember not to allow anyone ever to triumph over you. Thank you.
Samantha Faith Kane. Alexandra Louise Galbraith. Kendra Grace Johnson. Magdalene Parker Ingalls. Jenna Ann Pantano. Alessandra Lee Salato. Jessica Burkhard Napier. Julia Paige Beck. Minting Xu. Lillian Emily Johnson. Sarah Mandy Alraziki. Georgia Jane Mitchell. Nanji Zhude Wei. Shiki Zhang. Mary Grace McHale. Erin McHale Teslick. Magdalene Elizabeth McCulloch. Petra Annalisa DeRose. Alyssa Marie Barano. Shihong Zhu. Kaiyan Huang. Zoe de Torres Kurth. Ariana Marie Nieves. Catherine Mary Garris. Anaya Danae Wright. Rachel Joy McDonald. Li Hong Wu. Journey Gabrielle Hairston. Jillian Michael Nasavera. Eloise Dorothy Fisher. Fiona Rose Reagan. Sophie Simmons Fogel. Jenna Nazreen Dafur. Emma Jane Hamill. Olivia Christine Dixon. Claire Maureen Vlachos. Hu Ming Shi. So De. Ray Lana Griffin Lewitsky. Sydney Lynn Winters. Sarah Catherine Barone. Rachel Ann Beck. Lillian Elizabeth Hamlet. Georgia Ann Bontempo. Madison Rose Rettig. Emma Quinn Donovan. Rosemary Margaret Frangione. Catherine Ya Botama Asidu. Jacqueline Kate Stevenson. Anna Grace Schultz.
Hi, everyone. I am not Carrie Miller, as it might say on my Zoom handle, but as she said, we are here together at school to celebrate you guys. It was so wonderful to see so many of you today, and so wonderful to see all of you here on Zoom. So good evening, parents, relatives, faculty, students, and especially the class of 2020. What a wonderful 2 days of celebration for you this has been. I feel that we have truly been able to infuse our SEM spirit into these virtual events. You know, I had never even heard of Zoom until March 13th when I found out I would be teaching on it in 3 days' time. And now, as you saw yesterday at class day, I am screen sharing up a storm and running events on it. So you can do anything. I don't think any of us expected on that Friday, almost 3 months ago, that it would be the last time we would all be together at SEM. It's been a while now, and it's easy to understand how some of us, despite email and Zoom and Google Classroom and the portal, could come to feel disconnected. We know that what makes SEM so special is our community, and community is strongest when we're in it together. We've all done our best via Zoom and those other tools, but there have certainly been times when I just couldn't believe I couldn't pop into a colleague's office and ask a quick question, or sit down in the college library and chit chat with students. But it is going to be so important for you to stay connected with SEM and with each other. As an alumna and teacher, SEM has been such an important part of my life, and I know that it has been for you as well. When you go off to college at the end of the summer and new friends you meet ask you about your high school, you will try to describe SEM to them, but it will be hard to truly articulate just what a special place SEM is. You can try to explain Hornet Jacket Day, or the multiple times you have actually slept at the school, or the time you were in a putting on the hit skit with your advisor, shout out to my advisory, the lunches, that time you went to Gretna Glen, as Mrs. Marlette was speaking of, and look what I found in my office today, my special present from when you guys went. All those times you did God knows what in the study hall and the senior lounge. But it is only these girls, your classmates and friends, who will understand what the last 4 years of your life have been like. You will always share a special bond with them and with all of your fellow SEM alumni. That is why it is so important to stay connected. I know I've been your college counselor these past few years, but I'll let you in on a little secret. It's actually these past 4 years that have been the most formative of your life. SEM truly is a college preparatory school, but not just academically, but for all areas of your life. We prepare you to be women of character who have developed intellectual independence, creativity, service, and leadership for life. You have all fulfilled this mission, and I know you are all prepared to tackle the work that lies ahead. Don't be afraid of the work. You are ready. I'm speaking of academic work in college for sure, but there is also so much important work to be done in the world, and you can utilize all the same tools you learned at SEM to be agents of change. Think of the power of technology. It has not only allowed us to stay connected over these past few months, but it can also help organize protests against racism and police brutality. It can allow you to communicate with a classmate halfway around the world. It helps people share their stories, and thus you develop empathy. So I urge you to stay connected and remember that SEM is always a place you can come back to. The last time I spoke at graduation, I focused on an oft-repeated mantra of Miss Angel's: make everything that happens to you good for you. That's not so easy to do right now. It can't feel anything but unfair that this global pandemic happened and you weren't able to spend your last few months together. But throughout your years at SEM, you have learned the tools necessary to look for the good and to bring about the good in the world. As Miss Miller said, you will not be triumphed over by these hardships. You will work for the good, and you will find the good. And today we celebrate the good, your triumphs, and we will stay connected, which means we look forward to hearing all about the good in your life in the years to come. Congratulations, class of 2020. Now, please join me in listening to the alma mater, which will close our program. Thank you.